Hi, welcome. Dr. Ruth Anderson here with Enlightened World Network. We're so pleased to be bringing you one more session of Light Language, One with the Light. And our guest today is Susanne Amara, and Sharmee Divan is helping to host this show. I cannot wait for you all to see the beautiful, beautiful work that Amara brings into the world. So, Sharmee, why don't you take us there?
Thank you so much, Ruth, and welcome, Susan, to our show. It is so lovely to have you here. So, guys, Susan Amara is an energy alchemist, artist, and a facilitator. She holds a grounded space as a conduit between the world most of us know and experience, and then often unseen, multidimensional, or divine quantum space. Many of us search for a feel beyond what we have been taught or make constructs around. Amara delivers the energy flow of the field as Diamond Light Collective with with core principles of authenticity, awareness, and accountability as core everyday practices towards compassion, loving kindness, and grace. She expresses this intelligent awareness through creative channels and facilitates space for others to feel the fluid energy of divine soul emerging into an embodied human experience. The expressions have potential for opening transformational experiences of remembering and actualizing the essence of unconditional love. Thank you once again, Susan. It is lovely, lovely, lovely that you are here with us. Um, light language. This show is about light language, and I want to ask you what your journey has been like with this. When did you start? How many years have you been in this?
Well, I would have answered it differently a few years ago, but I realise now that perhaps I've always had or been able to communicate with light language. And even as a child, I was subconsciously drawing light language, but I didn't realise that that was light language. I was talking with animals and plants, and I didn't realise that was light language. So perhaps as we move and we remember perhaps that we've always had that innate quality. But in adulthood, it came quite unexpectedly when I was having a process. I was having a ceremony with some cacao and breath work, and I left my body and I went into another dimension or another place, another plane of energy, and I met some Orifim beings of light, and they told me that I would be bringing back languages onto the earth which weren't currently on the earth, weren't being expressed on the earth. And of course I thought that was a load of baloney and was quite shocked by that. But over the next few months it just started to come out of me. It was pouring out. I started making tones and sounds, started to have very deep experiences around how that moved my energy. And then that developed more into healing. And then about a year later, I started to write codes, which are not like the codes I write now. They were very rudimentary, scrawling on pieces of paper. And it very quickly started to become grids, things that I understood in my body, not in my mind. And about another year after that, I had a big jump in consciousness. So every part of the journey was accompanied with a jump in consciousness and awareness, and then embodiment. As we know, there's a lot of inner work that goes with it. And then I was ready to start this type of work, which was the next level of work, and that just came again instantaneously through like an initiatory journey. So it's been quite a journey, and it comes in
Yeah,
different layers. So for me, it's whole body. It's not just what you see. It's emanate. out as well, in all senses, sound, movement, expressions. It's just what I am, and what we all are is that language.
Yeah, yeah. Such a beautiful way to put that. So, Susan, did you always have an inclination towards art?
Mm,
The kind of
well,
work that you do, it's so exquisite.
yeah, not as a young child. No, I was very unartistic. It was in my family, so all of my family is fairly creative and intergenerationally. And my grandfather was a draftsman, and my grandmother enjoyed painting. So I was kind of brought up in, with that around me. But I never felt that I was creative, and I struggled a lot when I was young. And then my grandfather passed away when I was around about 8 years old. And only a few months after that, I got up one morning and spontaneously drew from my mind, from my memory, a playing card, which I can't remember what it was. It was a king of something anyway. And I drew it. I couldn't really remember drawing it, so I would consider that was potentially channeled, and I couldn't tell you. And after that, I could draw, so I became artistic after that, waking up on that morning. So probably, potentially, yes, I've grown up artistically. I studied design at university and ceramics. So again, there's lots of history with creation, and my interests around that type of work was, even when I did A level, I was drawing light codes on my paintings, but I didn't know they were light codes. I was drawing all the same squiggles and stuff that go in the work now. It was all in there. And at university, when I was studying three-dimensional design, it was ceramics. So I would go to the museums. I would be in the Egyptology, in all of looking at antiquity, scribing symbols into plaster and putting clay into the plaster to make these vessels. It was always there. All the clues were there, but I just didn't know because it was unconscious. And then in 2012,
Wow.
many years later, 2012, it exploded.
And it became what you have in your background, is it? Yeah.
This is
So,
creation of the
this is,
light.
sorry, this is?
This is all the, like, yes, the creation of the
Yeah,
energy,
yeah,
just as it's expressed.
yeah. And Amara, do you know who you channel? Are you
Yes,
aware of them? Or you are? Would you like to share with us?
yes. Well, it isn't really a day. It's more of an us, an hour. I did, when I started off, yes, I was having lots of experiences of guides and groups and councils of light, and I had all of those kind of experiences, like ascending masters and angels. I went kind of through different initiations with that. But the collective that we talk about is really only an arbitrary name for energy, and it's fluid, and it's not really beings as we know them. It's pure light intelligence. So they can take a form of an energy that we could experience as beings, but really it doesn't exist like that. It's pure light, it has source intelligence. And I connected with that very slowly. It took over a year to embody. I thought I was going to die in the process. And in the end, I kind of just clicked in. And when that kind of clicked in, I had to do almost the opposite and go into more shadow work to clear the way, to stop the attachments, to be clean enough to be with that conduit. And then at some point I had an experience again in breath work where I stopped breathing, and in that space of not breathing for around about 8 minutes, I was in an infinite time and space, and that's when we actually had that proper union and came. And they're really just a monadic field of light, which is part of our source intelligence, and they're purely here to support the human race at this time and space, in this experience. And are just here really to provide the information through, the beings that connect with them, I guess. And we bring it through in a way that people can touch easily, simply.
Wow. So you have had more than one, I would say, out of body slash near to death experiences,
Yeah.
and then that increased your intuitive powers to connect with the light language and these beings whom you call us.
Yeah, it kind of each stage it's taught me something different. So like the first time, that was the biggie in 2012. That was more like a walk-in. So that was a big part of the soul walking in, but I was walking into an pretty much, although I was doing therapy and would have said I was aware, I wasn't. I had no idea. And I found that first jump a big jump, and it was very difficult. It took a long time to adapt. And then each subsequent time, again in 2016, I had another big jump. That was part of a big integration where there was a lot of shadow work, a lot of parts integration work, where I really had to do the work, the real work, not the work we think we do, but the real deep embodiment and parts integration. So towards the end of that big phase, there was another jump, and that kind of propelled me and taught me a lot. I had a lot of initiations at this point. And then in 2020, which was the last really big one, I had a near-death experience. So that was, I think, pre-given. It was definitely something, looking back, that I could see the energy building up for. And the day itself reads like some kind of film, like a James Bond film. And it resulted in me leaving my body again. And this time when I came back, the fear element had gone. So it was a very deep sense of peace that's been installed this time. And that's remained pretty much. And again, it never stops. We're just moving and cleaning ourselves and becoming more peaceful about the experiences that we're having, because at first they seem very strange, and
Wow.
your mind opens and the brain opens and the body opens, and things that you've lived your whole life and you think are solid are no longer solid, and time has dissolved, and all the things that you perhaps believed in collapse in front of you. You need time to adapt, and those experiences have given me those adaptations, so I can contain what I do in a stable way and in an embodied way, so that the light can move more easily.
Yeah. That's beautiful. The way that you say it, I almost felt like I was going through that journey with you, and it is such a recent thing, and it kind of seemed to have happened pretty quickly from 2012, right?
Yeah.
So, were you studying under teachers, or was this strictly lessons taught to you by these beings, the spirits?
At first, prior to 2012, so I started my journey at the start of the 1990s, really. I was, I was kind of like inquisitive, asking questions, reading books, questioning history mainly. Didn't really know why. And gradually, because of my health was very poor, I had a lot of medical conditions, poor mental health, poor emotional health, all the normal things. I was seeking and searching for something. So the early teachers, I studied. I gave up a career in IT, so I had more of a corporate career, and then I felt that I needed to change and started to study holistic therapy. I didn't know why I was doing it, had no idea. and ended up taking a clinical route. So I was studying, and I undertook lots and lots of studies. I was obsessed with study. So had lots of spiritual kind of studies around Reiki, but I could never see anything. I only really feel. It was all kinesthetic, and to a large degree took a very regular kind of what we call a standard spiritual route, and ended up trying to heal myself, because the main motivation for me was to heal myself. And I was looking at meditation. So I would say when I began to study with the Self-Realization Fellowship, that was the very first kind of guru-based teachings, that they were teaching me things, and I was resisting. I mean, I was like the worst student ever, resisting everything. I was crap at meditating. My mind wouldn't stay still, it was jumping. And then, when, of course, as soon as I touched stillness, I'd explode with emotion and cry, and felt very lost. And I carried on with that. But ultimately, in 2012, after the experience of that walk-in, I was under a new kind of experience which wasn't earthly based, and that was really probably guided by the Diamond Light Collective, although I wasn't entirely aware of it. It felt very mixed between a cosmic family and Christ consciousness. So I had a lot of experiences, which I'm sure other people have shared, with Jesus, with ascending masters, and being fed this information and then reliving it first person. So I was walking through mystery schools at night. I go to bed in my normal family life with my kids, and I'd be like going in mystery schools. I'd be on a light spaceship, or I'd be talking, having conversations, or reliving seeming periods of history in a different way, and coming back and not always remembering it all, but remembering parts of it. I found that largely confusing at first, because I wasn't sure what was happening, and I didn't have anyone really to talk to about it. But then I met somebody in 2017 who really changed my life and helped me to kind of open up and accept that these things that were happening were actually real in the sense that of what is reality, but that this had some meaning behind it. And because I started to develop different types of healing skills, where I was seeing people going up light technology, I was observing surgery, and this was very, very different to anything that I'd ever learned from anyone. And alongside that, I saw things which were quite unexplainable, and not always what we would call light. Some of them were maybe things that aren't so helpful for people to. So I had to learn to navigate that, and that was largely done without a human intervention. But I've always had a good set of people around me. I tend to have accountability partners who are all working in different fields. Some are in science, some are working just in grounding the light, some are like more technical, coding, energy workers, physics, people that work in physics. And I have a good set of people around me that are very grounded. So that I would say that has been the most important aspect of the work here, has been to have the people around me which are grounded and can always say it how it is, and create a balanced view of whatever we're encountering. So I haven't felt the need to follow any particular teachings or become attached to any particular doctrine, because that's not where the collective come from. Because we can feel all of it, that all of these streams are here for us. And if we go down a single entity stream and a belief system, for me, with the energy, it's like cutting off everything else. I have to stay very, very open. It's not always easy to stay that open, but that's been the guidance.
Amara, your work and your story are so fascinating to me. I'm so thankful that you're here to help us understand this. A couple of questions. Your visuals are so stunning. When you're receiving this, do you get the whole picture in your head to start with? Or are they saying switch to purple, go to the left, how does that work?
At first, sometimes it was a bit like that. So at first, because I was learning, I had to learn. Sometimes, with light language, it doesn't translate into words very easily. So I would say that the energy, which is transdimensional, so it's from different spaces and places, that energy comes in a sense which is like a different type of sense to our regular senses. So it's not the mind and it's not our eyes and ears. It's like a felt sense of the body, and I can feel how that fits together. And like the closest ways to describe it, like a song played by an orchestra, and my body knows, so my whole spirit and soul knows how to take that feeling and bring it through my body. So in the case of these codes, yes, sometimes I'll see the visuals, but they tend to be moving very fast and they're not flat. So if I was trying to translate them, that sometimes is hard, but sometimes it helps with the frequencies. Now I've learned to be empty, to have nothing inside, and to witness, and I let my hand move, and it knows how to move. And now I've kind of even got to the stage where my hand can move and I know it's going to move, and I can talk at the same time, so I can stay in both different dimensions at one time. I don't know what we describe that type of awareness as, but I can be in many places at once and be aware still. I'm still learning that one a bit, because you can come out of your body a bit, and it's hard to stay in English language. Then you try and you feel like you're talking, but then all you can hear is light language coming out. So yes, in some ways I do visualize them. I'll dream things in. These are all big codes, so I tend to dream them in at first. I'll have an embodiment experience. I can't do anything unless it's embodying. So all of the energy here is embodied energy, and it's not just a question of doodling. I have to actually do the work behind it. So I'd say a good 50% of my life is a way of just doing the work, embodying the energy, so it's stable. Because if I bring out a code, there's a responsibility in the energy as well. So this is not like arbitrary work. At first I was very, very gung-ho, like everyone. It's like driving a high-powered sports car and like being like a kid. But then you start to become more refined. So your energy is more refined, your body's more refined, your senses are more refined, and it's kind of like you just let it come, and whether something's off or not. You'd see me if I was doing it live. Like sometimes I'll do a line and I'll know that's off, so it has to go and I have to do it again. It's just like how it comes. But yeah, if I thought this, it wouldn't work. If I tried to do anything the way that we've produced work up until now, this doesn't work.
So it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like when we see one of these stunning pieces of artwork, that it's kind of like the tip of the iceberg, and that there's all of this dimensional information underneath it that you have embodied, and we just get to see sort of what it looks like on the visual. Is that correct?
Yes, they're just gateways. So this energy, the energy in a picture is, I can say what I perceive, but I'm fully aware that I don't know anything really. So it's open, it's eternal light, so it's available for everybody, and someone can meet it, and you will receive the highest potential in that moment that you are open to, and maybe it'll just catalyze something new to open. So it's really just, I'm here holding the door open to what is available for everybody. in a way that doesn't overload and it doesn't confuse, and it's available. It's available here. So, you know, the one here, the lion, it's one of the most popular ones. You know, this is really, really deeply catalyzing for light language and for opening awareness. You know, it just looks like a lion to some people. So that's a nice picture of a lion. So you receive what it is that's right for you. And yes, I mean, in these pictures, a single scripted code could be the equivalent on Earth of a book or even a library. There is just so much energy behind it, energy potential. It's just, I think it's so hard for some people to comprehend when we start talking about these things at the moment, because it seems so far and out of reach. And often when we see things like this, we want to chase after them, or we feel inadequate, or we feel like we should be doing something. And the consideration of the collective, or perhaps where I come from, is that I want to inspire people to find that place inside of their authentic soul expression and to feel confident enough to shine it out into the world. So that, if anything, the legacy of these codes, the ones that are coming now, is for that. It's to help give that foundation.
Wow. Wow. That's sort of the only word that keeps coming to me is wow. So you have gone through many transformations throughout your life, but yet you are here in a 3D body. Have these transformations been difficult for the people close to you, or have you always had their support?
No, it's been absolutely devastating for them. You know, my marriage broke down, first of all, and it was very hard on my children, because when my the walk-in happened, my children were quite young. You know, they were under 10, and their mother suddenly changed. She was a different person. Everything changed, and it was a very difficult time, because of course, who understands? It looks like a brain injury, or it looks like a breakdown. It looks like so many other things, because you're not equipped in advance to know what's happening to you. So I didn't know that I was going crazy. I didn't know what was going on. I felt also that I might be evil and dark and damned and all sorts of things. That because we didn't have those types of support networks. So one consistency has been my mom. It took me 6 months to even tell anyone what happened in 2012. I couldn't even voice it. I was just coping, you know, like coping day to day, because you become super sensitive to everything as well. And I forgot a lot of things. So I was just trying to cope to do normal life and deal with being psychic at that time, you know, suddenly psychic. So it was hard on my immediate family, and you know, my relationship started to break down then because of the energy. And also, I think my friends, you know, it's hard to explain what's happening. They just think you are mentally unstable. And I gotta say, like, I actually kind of felt that I was going through that, because you are facing your shadow at the same time. You're facing and beginning to look at all of those things that you've created that have propped up your life just to survive, all the survival mechanism. And that was before all the things we've got now. So yeah, it did have a big impact. And I think my mum was very supportive though, because when I finally came out and went to her, she didn't turn me away. And that was a turning point for me, because I felt like I was heard. And it's been, you know, it's been very interesting. My life is very different now. I have to make very courageous decisions about how I was going to open and follow life. But in that same, I shared with you the journey where the Orifin came and spoke to me about the language, whilst going straight into the same journey. After that experience, I went into an initiation with Osiris and Isis, and I was shown 3 life paths. And in the life path which I chose, which was the highest expression of my soul, I was shown a little of what was to follow. And I'm glad I had had that initiation, because it helped me when things started to crumble. It helped me to be humble. It helped me to not go into drama, to blame, to go in what all the things that we do when we're in that shift and people don't understand what's happening to the person that they love. Because that's what all this behavior comes with people shift, is we just want to hold on to the person that we were attached to, because we have codependent relationships on earth as human beings. We form very deep codependency, and when we are going back to our unified consciousness, that codependency dissolves, it starts to drop. So we're experiencing very different space and time and reality to maybe the people around us. So it's a very good question, because I think a lot of people have this, Ruth, when they are having these big shifts and they're waking up, that it's easy to kind of make a differentiation and say, you know, I'm awake and you're not, but everyone's having their own experience. That's why compassion is a big thing in my what I land in, because it was the most difficult journey to come to this state now. And it's not just about you, there's everybody there as well, friends and family around. So yeah, it's a big impact.
Well, and I do know we start to create our own family, you know, that it isn't always off of the bloodline, that we surround ourselves with folks that love us and can accept us for truly what we are. So it sounds like you have a great support system at this point for the work that you're putting out into the world.
Yes, we're all coming together as well. I mean, I can see there's a few people live now, but we're all beginning to meet. And I think that's the thing, is we meet because we feel the frequency. We meet because we know that we're family, because we're not in that codependent framework anymore. We've come out of that. We've fallen more into a transpersonal way of being. We're able to meet each other properly. We're not in that false competition, or, oh, I know more than you, or I need to own you, or that. So that family is now coming in, and it's beautiful. And we're all over the world. We really are, aren't we? We're just literally spread over this planet. I don't feel distance with any of the family that I connect with. When we're connecting, whether it's here or in other spaces, then we're just there. It's beautiful, and our whole sense of family is a very interesting dynamic of what we carry, the burdens. This is all the things that are lifting, of course, is all that energy and the way that we've been ruled by it, and we've been governed by it in ourselves, you know, how we've attached to all of that energy, and created lots of things that don't really help us too much necessarily. So that transition that we're in now, this is a really interesting time. Mm-hmm. It's like it's magical, but it's also, you know, we don't always talk about the struggles that people have, because we tend to go back into the old dynamic of suffering and victimhood, and actually we can see this as transition, and it's a beautiful thing. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. It's like watching a flower that's kind of been in the ground for millions of years, and that seed has just been quietly resting there, and suddenly it gets a shoot up and you've got a bud, and then you're watching very slowly that bud just unfolding, and it's the most mystical flower. It's full of potential, and so I feel very honoured to be having this experience at this time.
No, absolutely. So I know you have some show and tell for us Amara, do you want to go ahead and screen share? And you've got a video, you've got
Yeah,
some slides, so we
yeah.
are
What would
ready.
you like to see? What would you like? Would you like to? I've got the video, but I've got some codes as well.
We want it all, so you guide us.
Okay, well, there's time. So why don't I show you some codes first, and then we'll go into the video because it would make the video kind of make a bit more sense. So I put some codes because you can see some of the codes in the background, but then I can bring them up on screen and you can see them more. And can you see that?
Yes.
Can you see that code? Fantastic. So if I
Yeah.
make the code bigger, so we can see that this is a code which is called Sapphire Light Temple. So it's one of the diamond light spaces, and this is really, it's quite a big code, so it's one of the bigger codes, and it holds a multi-dimensional space for us to be sitting in a space where we can open up and remember who we are. So this is a type of light that really comes from the three primary fields of light, so the primary light and sound fields, and then it kind of comes together in a prism in the middle and creates this space. It's not flat, it's a real space. We've journeyed into this space, and you can have a lot of healing in here. Most people that have been in these spaces have felt that time dissolves, and it's very much about time. There's some geometry down at the bottom here that really works with very primary energy fields that may bring our humanness into being. So like coming into a singular entity or a body. So this one is really one of my favorites because it's quite new. I think a lot of people, they hear music, they feel that energy so fluidly, like water moving through consciousness. And it's a very soft energy. It's very, very soft.
So Amara, do you paint? Is this done on the computer? What's your medium?
This is done digitally.
Okay.
So I've just made it bigger for you so you can see here how detailed these codes are, because they really are very, very big codes. And these little things here, you might have seen them on other shows, they all hold energy. So they hold dynamics of energy, just again like tunes or songs, that they touch all the different dimensional geometries of our body, and they help us to tune. So it's like a tuning fork, and that tuning fork helps us in the real time of our bodies to be clearer, to have more clarity, so we can reach those spaces ourselves. We stop looking outside and we feel this inside. So that's why I say they're catalytic codes, because they're here to help us to remember what's in our own consciousness. We are the light. We are what we're looking at here. So I do this digitally, but I also do it by hand as well, but mainly digitally, because that's the way I've been guided at the moment to work. So this is another one which is a slightly different energy, and this is called Earthship. So this is Lightship Earth, and this is around our planetary body. So this is working with the human and connection with Gaia, so with the planetary body, and how intimately we are having the experience as an organism with our planet. So this reconnective energy. And there are lots of different aspects to these codes, but what I would say with any of these codes is that you just sit and you breathe and you feel and create space, and that will open to you as is right for you. rather than me saying what this is or what sort of experience you should have from this, because I don't work really in a directional way anymore. So this is, again, these are very big codes, and the center of this code is all to do with the heart. This is opening the higher heart and working with the geometry of the higher heart to open that channel, you know, the expression, so we can feel that energy.
I'm really stunned at how beautiful and how intricate these are. When you receive something like this, how long might it take you in 3D to actually get this completed?
It depends. So sometimes it's very quick. Sometimes I will sit in just a few hours and complete a code. But the work that's gone on behind it could have been weeks.
Wow.
In terms of embodiment and stillness and journeys and inner work and reconnective work. And then I'll just feel when the time to sit down is right. I'll feel that time and then it will come. And sometimes it's quick, and sometimes I need to bring in other codes before the bigger codes. So I have to bring in other codes before, and they all fit together. So the light is building, and I'm doing something to do with that at the moment, which is why I haven't been putting a lot of codes out, because there's a considerable amount of energy to embody before I bring the next few codes in. So this one's really lovely because this one is about Christ consciousness. So this is about the Heres Gamos union with Christ consciousness and the feminine and the masculine energy meeting in the middle. So I think this will be right. The darker one, the darker stream there, that would be the masculine, and the lighter one on the other side is the feminine stream, and then they meet in the waters, and then they come in through into the crystalline plasmic consciousness, which is what we really are. When we stopped, you know, identifying so much with the human, and we can feel our energy in its entirety. This is the union, and this is a really beautiful code that came through as a request from a friend who is a sound healer, and she plays crystal bowls.
It truly is outstanding. Outstanding.
Thank you.
The masculine and the feminine is also very vivid. Before she said it, like it was quite easy to tap into the energy and figure out which is the masculine, which is the feminine. And yeah, it just stands out so much.
Because this little, I didn't know obviously at the time. I'm normally the last person to figure things out because I work intuitively. I'm not from the brain, but these little things here, these are like crucibles.
I like crystal balls, yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking that they look like crystal balls.
The energy that I've worked with a lot in the last couple of years has been preparing me for the work I'm about to deliver. So I kind of delivered this, and I worked also with swords, and they're very representational of the spinal energy and the nervous system in a way that we can meet and refine. And so that union of the crucible and the sword, that's what I'm working in at the moment, which is to raise our divine light, our geometries into that eternal light structure, so that we can actually make this transition in an embodied way as the energies increase on Earth and with the sun. So I was going to bring some light language with this one, because this again is about Earth. This is Tara. So this is all about our embodiment and grounding and stability, which is always good when we're doing a lot of energy work. Sharu ian tahale ushianta inora ulvari ihin shay inta ekurava ashtini. Kivarun taventieshteri in hiaru avent tashtami inta. Patiaro vet ita ukienta asha haje. Tando va antita. Contino do totava intorva atesti visita ava ata. Kani nano vatatino vreti toro Karundaja Karvan Paina Mashahi Karuye Beri Darotashi Tarantaran Diadate Korean Jashaki Daratapush Vet Idata Ushtiki Narava Eshta Karu Vertina Varushta Eva Ushta Var Intare Varian Daro Kai Ishaha Alava Antare Eshtara Itatnishki Davet Ushtave Daru iana surivet ira esha eka iana durava esha. So this is just like the love of the Gaia body meeting our physiology of our actual physical mechanism of body and cellular health through the elemental bodies of light that come into our elements. So what we experience here on Earth as elements, as the form of matter that's come from a 0 point field, taken on a form which makes our physical body, or the appearance of our physical body and the energy. So this really helps us to be at peace with that flow of energy, as well as retaining the space of matter, as well as coming from the 0 point into physicality and seating our spirit in that house and that body.
Very powerful.
Very powerful. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do really like this code. I did it last year, but I'm still working with it. We might do a little bit more with this code. So this is a more of a galactic code.
Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh.
Appeal to the star beings, and it's an Arcturian. So this is working with our Arcturian family, which I work closely with, and yeah, this was one of the codes he brought in one of the last groups, because I run events and groups with these codes, and this was one that came for the last big group we have. It's like a union between the Ananda consciousness, so the Christ consciousness, the Arcturians, and Andara, which is the crystalline consciousness. It kind of links into the crystal skull consciousness, and they came together as a little trinity to hold this magical space, which I've been doing for about a year, and this was one of the last codes. So it's very, very supportive for this time right now, this time that we're in right now, and all that strong energy that's coming from the sun, from the cosmos, through hitting our bodies, moving through our bodies, working with us, to help us to have a smoother ride in the physical. So those things that we feel aren't so severe and strong, and we can trust our intuition more about how we feel. So if we need to rest, we rest. If, we make time for ourselves.
Where the triangles come together, it almost looks like angelic forms. You know what I'm talking about, with the purple on the, like, if it was a little angel, like the purple on the chest of the angel and the purple head?
In the middle here, this bit, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. There isn't that much difference between the energy. We just attribute it in different ways.
Right.
To, one thing or another, but really it's not that much different.
Wow. Amara, each
one can exist in a physical body that's not the same as ours. It's not as dense. The planetary systems aren't as dense as ours, but their consciousness is evolved so that they are in a unified consciousness field, and they can project their consciousness into the physical form. So the Arcturian collective tend to exist as energy more, which is a lot like the Diamond Collective as we will move into that, that's a future present thing, and they can project their consciousness, and we meet that. We just go and meet that, so it's available. But I actually remember and have conscious awareness of being in a physical body in that planetary system as well. So I have maybe a slightly deeper understanding of what this means.
Uh-huh. Wow, each one just has such a distinct energy, and each one draws me in differently than the other. It's fascinating. Amara, if people say, "Ooh, I really want that for my home," do you sell your work?
Yes, we will have I keep saying that we will have a space for this. So at the moment, it's very much you ask me and I can help you that to happen. The reason why I haven't gone down that route is because of the integrity that is behind the work. And it was very important that the energy behind that was stabilized for me at this time before we kind of grew it, and also the congruency of how that is set up. Because for me, everything matters. Everything matters about energy. How, not just how we show up, but also how we open up and make things available, and what we have as sales and stuff. So I've had to learn this. So you will have a portal for this, but all the codes will be free to have a small image, and I want this to be available for all beings, irrespective of financial income. But if you want to have something in your house which is bigger, then you can get in touch. And I do have things already printed. We are starting that process. I also have released a card set which we've now sold out of, and I'll be reprinting this. So hold on is what I'd say. Follow me, get in touch, and be patient while we do this, because I'm setting this up for 5D light and really working integratively to make sure we deliver it with a smooth energy so that it can pay back, because a lot of what we're doing has a much wider scope than being paid for survival. I want to set up a community, to fund the community, to fund projects, and to put all this in place as well. So it's kind of bigger than me, if you know what I mean.
Right,
So
right.
you can get in touch. Just get in touch if it's there. Go on my page. Follow the stuff, and you'll find your way.
Beautiful. And we do have time for your video. Could we do the video now?
Yeah, okay. So this is a video that I put together recently called Regenesis. It doesn't need any more words than that.
It is so easy to get
Very.
lost in your work. Wow, so easy. Amara, would you share with us if people want to know more about your work? How do they find you?
And they can find me on Facebook. Oh, I'm sorry. They can find me on Facebook on the Susanne Amara, and the Light Evolutionary is my YouTube channel, and on Instagram as Amara_light_alchemy.
Excellent, thank you.
Please do get in touch, and we'll point you in the right direction if you want to join. It's easy to keep in touch. I've got a Telegram channel as well, which is t.me/Susanne Amara. And I post everything. Some people are on Facebook, so I post everything that I put out there onto the Telegram channel, so it's accessible for everybody.
Excellent, thank you. Sharmee, I want to thank you for bringing Amara to us. Her work was new to
Thank
me,
you.
and I'm stunned. So beautiful.
Yeah. The more I see her work, like sometimes, it was through people that Susan and I got in touch, and um, the every time, like, I want a little bit of peace of mind or some inspiration, some encouragement. I look at her artwork, like it kind of keeps me going, and sometimes I'll tune into her Facebook Lives and see what she has to share. And she is truly very inspirational, such a pure hearted soul. And it is a blessing to have been given the opportunity to connect with you, Amara. And I look forward to us connecting and reconnecting over and over again.
Thank you, Dr. Ruth.
And thank you, Ruth, for this platform. Thank you so much.
Well, absolutely. Amara, thank you. A million thank yous for this opportunity. And our friends, thank you for joining us today. And thank you for being part of Enlightened World Network. We're so glad to have you all here with us. And it is absolutely our honor to bring you the beautiful presence of Spirit. And today it's in the form of Amara. So God bless everybody. Take good care. Thank you.